Good evening, London. Good evening again. This is the Manish Tiwari show, and we are in the most multicultural, multiracial global city in the world. We have a unique guest today, someone who has made London his home and has been here since 2015. He has launched an amazing venture, something to look out for in the coming days, years, and months to come. His name is Anuj Gupta. He is a serial entrepreneur. He had his first exit at the tender age of 20. He made his exit and he made his million at 20. And after that, he started his journey, entrepreneurial journey, which took him to New York, back to India, and now to London. Anuj, are you there?
Yes. Hi, Manish.
Hello, Anuj. So, what a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for
I
having
always
me.
pride myself in living in this great city and meeting people like you, entrepreneurs, business people, visionaries who bring all the difference to the city and to the world and make this city truly a global hub. So,
The feeling is mutual.
thank you, Anuj. So, Anuj, we're going to start the show now, and I'm going to ask you some questions. My very first question is, Anuj, what made you an entrepreneur? Because Indians are typically straitjacketed. Everyone I knew in my college days, in my school days, all they wanted to do was get a great job, get married to the girl, of their dreams, and live a happy, content life. Very, very few, a very small percentage, and a very thin percentage would try and go out and do an adventure where they did not had any kind of idea of what's coming next. Entrepreneur, in my view, are people who convert their adventures into ventures. They know the risk they're taking, they control the risk, and they make something out of it. Very often they fail as well. Not everyone is a success story, and a small percentage like yourself, make it big, make it, take it a step further, a notch further. And unfortunately, in India, and in the South Asian South Asian population living even in this country, I don't see a very lot of them entrepreneur in the true sense. A lot of them have become business people. They're wedded to their businesses, and they have done well in life. There are enough number of doctors, accountants, and so on and so forth. But we're yet to see, Microsoft or an Amazon or a Netflix being born out of the South Asian genes. So Anuj, we have great hope in you. My first question, what made you an entrepreneur at 20, straight out of college?
Manish, I think most people tiptoe through life. They tiptoe through life and make a safety to death. And I decided to become an entrepreneur and speed up that process. And, entrepreneurs are born hungry, naked, and wet. And things only get more exciting. So for me, it's been, I said to myself one day, look, Anuj, you're anyway extinguished. May as well give a shot at becoming distinguished. And that was a start to my journey.
So, but I mean, what was the motivation at that age? You straight out of college. Most people would think, let me work for some time, let me enjoy life, let me kind of think about what I want to do. Did you had clarity? Did you know what you were going to do at that time?
I think that would be an oversized claim to say that I had clarity, but I think I definitely knew that in order to have a disproportionate contribution to community, I think we have to put a disproportionate amount of hard work. And I think that was, to me, the start of the journey where I said, the faster I find bigger gaps, the faster I find gaping holes and opportunities, I think quicker will come the chance to making something good and valuable and impactful. And I think India needed to play the inside out card. India's been a services champion, whether you see large players like Infosys or TCS. They are used to taking the order request from an outsider and then fulfilling that. We wanted to be more inside out, where we were not wanting to discount the value of our intellectual property. And I said, we have the capability and the agility and the humility to be building something which can be valuable to the world. So in the early days of the first business, we built an IP-based business, which got its exit in the US at that time. But I think the motivation was that let's do something which is going to be different and not the standard thing that the rest of the country has been doing.
So, Anuj, so I mean, if I'm not mistaken, you had a business at 20, then you worked with one of the tech companies, and then you were in the US, and you came back and created Final Quadrant. Is that the name, right?
That's right. Yeah. So the first company I created when I was in college, and actually it was a company that was sending faxes internationally because there was a huge cost of sending faxes, and India was primarily an exports regime in those days, and we wanted to make it easier for people to communicate better through faxes in that time. And we exited that business. And then I traveled a lot when I was in my sabbatical. I traveled around the world, and then I came back and I saw gaps in opportunity in travel, and I built my company called Final Quadrant, which is actually making travel technology, which ended up powering companies like ebookers and became the first company in the world to be certified by Amadeus, and then ended up winning the award for the best technology in the world by Microsoft.
Okay, so and Final Quadrant, then you created an exit for that as well, along with ebookers. Is that right?
That's right. We sold the business in 2000 and yeah, early 2000s to a company in the US, and then that gave me the opportunity of moving to the US and building the retail business that I built at that time, which was essentially we saw a gap in the market where ethnic minorities and teens in the US saw credit challenge and unbanked. And the US was a classic story of either people being underbanked or overbanked. So people didn't have access to the internet because they didn't have access to credit cards, and they couldn't do it. So they would walk into our retail, one of the retail outlets, and get access to a variety of products and be able to do what other people who had access to credit cards could do online. We're talking about 2005 kind of time, Manish. Let's not forget that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it sounds like an age of dinosaurs if you compare with what's happening right now. I mean, things have moved so fast. So,
Exactly.
so Anuj, so that was Prepay Point, which you created in New York, and after that, you created an exit for that as well.
That's right. And we were given a great opportunity. And I think the idea in any opportunity is if the timing is right, then the timing is right. So we thought that we've got enough of a footprint, enough of a printing on the landscape. It might be a good idea to give it in the right kind of hands and then move next.
Okay. And subsequently, you went back to India, and then at some point of time, you came to London. So, what has been like the high point of your journey so far? I mean, you had quite a few amazing things. I mean, you created exits. You were in India. I believe you're working with the Prime Minister's office in India as well. And then
No, I did not, get into anything to do with politics actually. But I mean, there may have been opportunities, but I think one didn't delve into those kind of things.
Okay.
For me, Manish, it's not been one thing. I think it's been a basket of peaks and troughs. It's a collection of episodes and events that have been the high point for me. I think pushing the envelope in the genre of disruptive paradigms has been really exciting to me. I think if you talk about single events, then winning the award for the squash championship in All India University, that was fascinating. I think coming on the cover page of a leading US magazine saying "Made in India" was fascinating for me. I think it's just when I received a patent in my name. That was very fascinating for me. So I think it's a collection, and then of course, and I'm sure that I've made a ton of very large mistakes, and I think they were high points as well because they taught me something much bigger and better for my future ahead. But I think for me, when my family tells me that they're proud of me, that's a high point for me. And I think most importantly, I would say when I wake up every morning is a high point for me when I think about that I'm 24 hours better than I was yesterday.
Wow. I think that's a great philosophy to live by. I mean, I wish all of us could think exactly the same way. Getting out and saying that this is 24 hours better than what I was yesterday. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So Anuj, I'm going to ask you something quite bluntly. I mean, have you made a lot of money in your journey so far? Has that been a priority for you?
I think for me, Manish, self-worth is more important to me than net worth.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think on the path of making money, I think it's quite easy to forget to value things that money cannot buy. So I believe that building human capital is way more important than physical capital. So priority for me has been to have unique value contribution into whatever I do. and become an indispensable force in the thing that I'm doing. And then I allow rewards to smile on my efforts because I have at that point done my best. And I think money is something that starts to hurt, according to me, a negative marginal utility beyond a point. I don't think I want the third spoon of sugar in my tea. It doesn't add any more value.
Very well
So I
said.
think having larger goals, and I think having broader goals than being just myopically focused on one thing has not been that. But yes, we've been blessed as far as gains on the material side are concerned. Life has been okay.
Anuj, that's fantastic. I mean, I've never heard this one before. The third cup of sugar, the third spoon of sugar in my tea. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, I think that's the right way to look at things. Yeah, you can't. Excess doesn't make anyone more successful. In fact,
Yeah.
contentment is the way. One thing I've seen in you, I mean, I observe even now, is that you have that kind of 100% focus and dedication to what you do. I mean, that's kind of a hallmark of someone who's going to make a difference. You kind of committed to the
They,
task.
they say that if you can't stand for something, then you will fall for anything.
Yeah.
So I believe in standing by and doing with an acute focus on the mission, because if mission is not achieved, then justice is getting denied.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I see that, and I was reading about it this morning that when you're doing something, the only way to do it right is when you kind of burn 100% and kind of consume yourself in the process of doing it, irrespective of what the outcome is. So I kind of totally kind of see that spark in you. Anuj, so what made you move to London? What's your relationship with the city? I mean, you've been a globetrotter, you've been in New York City, you've been in Delhi, in India, in other parts of the world. So what made you decide that London is going to be your home?
I think I was very happily packed up to be on my way to the US, to the Valley. And little did I realize that my plane's going to land into London. I got invited by the UKTI, now the Department of Trade, and that got me to London actually. And it's been fascinating because London is such a massive innovation hotbed. I think London has the ecosystem maturity for businesses to allow them to witness to receive the blessing of endorsement and success. So I think London has something for everyone, and I think a lot for Greenvan.
So let's come to what, because I've seen this huge billboards in certain parts of the city. I think it was in one of those most prestigious locations. And then I've seen it in Old Street near what we call the Silicon Point.
Roundabout.
Yeah, Silicon
Yeah.
Roundabout. So there's this huge poster of Greenvan. So what is the buzz about? What really is Greenvan? And when I was speaking to you, you said it's going to be another unicorn. So what exactly this is, and what's this venture all about?
Manish, Greenman so it's a direct-to-consumer home services offering. It's making really easy for the consumer to access and find reliable and affordable tradesmen for their jobs. So think about movers, plumbers, electricians, locksmiths. I think there is a real challenge today. There is a real problem in the market. 94% of the market is totally fragmented. It's moms and pops on one side and really expensive businesses on the other. The consumers getting the rough end of the stick. We are not, we are, that's why we chose to not to be a marketplace, but a service provider in order to ensure the quality of service delivered. Because we want to stand by, we want to price, we want to become a principal party to the transaction and carrying the promise. I think the use of technology that we have in Greenvan, along with the green assets, has a huge impact on the stakeholders and especially the environment. So I think consumers today save a lot of time. They get predictability, they get visibility, reliability, recourseability. So it's great for the consumers and even for the tradesmen who today have basic levels of income. And for them, it's going to be fantastic because they're going to reduce the number of days they work in a year. They're going to make much more money than they make today. And they're going to have a more safe and a predictable revenue stream for themselves and giving them much more high quality family time. I think for us, it is a combination of those factors on the back of the use of technology that enhances the value prop for various members of the ecosystem. It upgrades industry credit rating, it improves the possibility of decarbonizing cities because we're using green assets. So I think for us at Greenvan, we would like to be a part of the design of the wallpaper of your mind. So when you think about home services, you think about Greenvan. There doesn't exist a solid, ready, recallable brand, and we would like to occupy that spot.
So is it a bit like the Uber kind of services for the home, anything related to the home services? Is it like the Uber for that? Is this what you have?
So if you think about Uber, Uber is a combination of sharing economy, informal economy, and continuum economy. Yes, to the extent that we are like Uber because we deliver the service. So when you take a ride from A to B, you don't say I actually went with the driver partner of Uber, John, right? You say that I went with Uber. So when we're going to do the jobs are going to be done by Greenvan. So we are an Uber of home services. We are aggregating demand and putting together supply and delivering a high quality service, which is through a smooth connective tissue and really making it easy for various members of the ecosystem.
So, and the driving technology which you have, I mean, you said AI, so artificial intelligence. So have you kind of developed this? Is it all ready to go? I mean, are you already delivering on the services?
Yeah, so I mean, in our thinking, internet created companies like Amazon and mobility created companies like Uber. And I think the time has come when artificial intelligence is going to create companies like Greenvan. Because I think the bottleneck between the seeker and the provider has been the human who sits and takes the requirements. I think that the idea to automate that piece of the top of the funnel is important, that allows us to create a scalable, reliable, and an available solution. So AI, with its capability that it has today of natural language processing and machine learning, allows for a very stable and a scalable solution to allow consumers to take services from us. So yes, AI becomes really important. It's not just AI. We use algorithms and lots of automation along with AI in making the journey much smoother, much lighter, and with much less fat. Brilliant. So it's a combination that makes the platform really easy. It's not just the one thing.
Sure. So I was listening today, I was watching Sharat Sharma. He runs a thing called iSpirit India. And I was just kind of listening to him, and he was talking about how in the global scheme of things, India still has not created any products. I mean, in the sense that, of course you have companies like TCS or Infosys, and of course the Tatas exist, and they've acquired things like JLR. But truly, in terms of products, we don't have anything to talk about. We have not created, or we have not given the world any groundbreaking product. Smaller countries like Korea, Japan, Israel, and of course all the Western nations, they all have kind of, year after year created an economy which is based on these kind of products. China is another example which started much later and then has got Huawei, this 5G giant, which is now causing, a fear among the Western nations because they're so advanced in terms of 5G and its understanding of mobile technology. So where do you think India is kind of lapsed, and are you going to be, I really hope, are you going to be kind of the first unicorn for India? Because this sounds exciting. I don't see anyone else doing what exactly you're doing, and I'm pretty sure this is scalable. You can take it anywhere in the world. So Anuj, what do you think? What's your dream? Is it going to be on the FTSE 100? Is this your kind of that venture which is going to kind of create that mark?
I think to answer your first question first, I think why India has not created products, I think it's rooted deeply into the lack of credit and lack of capital, because it doesn't allow people to take chances. It doesn't allow people to take risks. A single mistake is your final mistake. Availability of capital in the West has been the reason for people to learn along their journey, make a few mistakes, and then go for the moonshots. It's those moonshots, it's those tectonic jumps where you can have when you can move many miles after learning from your mistakes, but you don't get flushed out as a business, is why we believe entrepreneurs witness success. So capital availability and ability to absorb shocks and risk is a very key hand-in-hand partner of why entrepreneurs also become successful. I mean, it's humanly impossible to not make mistakes, but I think if a mistake costs you a business, then you're done. And I think in India, because of paucity of capital, I think that's been a major challenge. I think as far as Greenvan is concerned, with an opportunity size of 700 billion, most markets being fragmented, AI not being used properly today, this being a need-based business versus a want-based business, we are solving a real problem. There is a real gap. There doesn't exist a recallable brand out there today. We do have the opportunity, I believe, to witness quite a large amount of highs in this journey.
So there's a huge opportunity, and this can fill that gap. I mean,
yes,
yeah, brilliant. So what you're saying about the Indian scenario, I think what you said is there's a lot of truth in that. I mean, we are far too critical. I mean, look at, I'm not kind of saying that they've not made mistakes, but look at the attitude which India, Indian media, and even the political system has towards people who have failed. I mean, Vijay Mallya, he might have failed, but wasn't he trying to be an entrepreneur? I mean, he did not he did create the best airline even for a short time. But I think we are a bit too overtly critical, and I see that in a lot of different industries. We only have a handful of Narayan Murthis, but even then, the examples we have of failures have been blown out. So definitely there's a point we are far too critical.
I think the point is that they say that if you want to walk fast, walk alone. If you want to walk far, walk together. I think as an entrepreneur and as a part of the entrepreneurial community, I think it's important to hold each other down and lift each other up. And I think it's the mantra that I live with.
Mm-hmm. No, brilliant, Anuj. So, all the best for Greenvan. There's a huge market space. You definitely kind of can scale it up, make it global. But I believe right now your vision is to focus on London.
That's right. I think London is a market large enough, and we don't want to, fly before we run. And I think a market of this size, I think, is a good enough market for us to the levels we desire to be at. It's got the volumes, it's got the depth. We will first justify this gap before we move next.
Sure. So Anuj, will come back after the break into the second part of the show. Till then, enjoy your time. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Manish. Thank you.
So viewers, we've been talking to Anuj Gupta, the founder of Greenvan, an AI-driven platform which is launched in the United Kingdom, here in our own city in London, and is going to change the way you get your home services done. So all electricians, plumbing, any other job which you need can be done through Greenvan. It's an AI-driven tech platform launched by entrepreneur Anuj Gupta, who's with us right here, right now, and we're going to field more questions to him. Anuj, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much, Manish.
So while we had the break, my phone was buzzing. People were asking questions about you, and they were asking me questions about Greenvan. So that's a good start. Uh, I had, I read a few days back, the Prime Minister launched something called a green economy. He has something called the Green Vision. So I was going to ask you, what is this green vision and why is it so important? Is that going to be at the heart of Green Van as well? Because I see this kind of connect. Green Van, the timing is perfect. The Prime Minister has announced and unfurled a big boost, billions and billions of pounds into the green economy. And when I read that, my first instinct was, why I'm not doing something which taps into this great opportunity? I mean, this absolutely is going to change how United Kingdom will move into certain areas. We all know that petrol and diesel cars are going to be obsolete in the next decade or so. We know that electric cars are the way forward. We know that certain things are going to be taxed so heavily that people would have no option but to turn to green and cleaner energy sources. And Green Van, is that kind of in the same direction? Is that vision important to you? What is the connect here? What is at the heart of it?
I think that's a great question. I think, Manish, for me, wherever I may go, I cannot forget where I come from. As a child who was raised in India, we were told early on, Mother Earth is very important. So we used to pray to Mother Earth. So I think I'm already 15 years late in my endeavors in pushing the agenda for the planet. We don't want the planet to start having a problem with the people. I think already enough has been done, and you don't want to challenge the planet anymore. So I think at Green Van, it's not just an agenda. It's just not. It's a very cardinal way of thinking for us. I think it's at the heart of affairs for Green Van. We cannot even quantify the amount that we owe to the planet. I think our planet is giving us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We need to do something back for the planet. So I think, and it was fantastic to see Prime Minister's 10-point plan on, I think history is getting created because of the green industrial revolution that the Prime Minister has talked about. And I think that creates something for everybody in the sustainable space, but I think a lot for Green Van. I think we want to take this opportunity in ensuring that the world is becoming, the UK to start with, cleaner and better and swifter on the back of better practices.
And you did say something to me about planting trees. Is that kind of how's that linked to Green Van? I mean,
I think so. For us, the agenda is not. So if you think about in Green Van, I think the entire process, right from the time the customer comes in, we don't expect. Um, uh, we encourage working from home for our people who work with us, so they don't have to come in resource-heavy cars to a resource-heavy office. The process is very light. The consumer comes in, they don't have to make phone calls and waste a lot of their time. So we're using electric vans. We are delivering more jobs delivered per mile. So if you think about our jobs to mile ratio is much more compared to most other people. If you think about the fact that there is no room for any mistakes because we are using directly electric vans. So we are decarbonizing the city straight up. I mean, we're not what they call these days greenwashing. We're not, it's just a straight use of direct green assets. And I think so for us, and as far as, when somebody gets a job done, we issue something called the karma card, to your point. And the karma card is actually making the consumer feel that they've been a part of the green economy because many people are in jobs which are different in nature. We want everybody to be a part of this green revolution, the green economy, the green feeling, and the green blessing. So we issue them the karma card, and that card is actually telling them that their job that they got done with us made us plant a tree in some part of the world, and it's a positive action from our side towards afforestation. And not only did it create work for a family in some part of the world, but also they became a part of the afforestation process. So it's a great feeling of give back to our customers who otherwise would have just not been a part of this green effort. So So from a green man perspective, I think there is ecology and that balance and our giving back sits at the heart of our business model.
So basically, you said something about three T's. So it's trees, technology, and what was the third T about?
Trust.
Trust.
Trust. I mean,
Oh,
our goal is to actually drive not only be green but become dark green. So we are trying to do many things, and we are saying that our trust technology and trees is trust is where the consumers can trust us, and technology because we use the latest and the greatest, and trees because we have this major drive towards green and afforestation and decarbonization. So we are not only climate neutral, but we hope to be climate positive.
so and where do you plant these trees? I mean, is that going to be some other part of the world, or in the UK or India?
I was just, in fact, on a call a couple of days ago with somebody who said there is a major drive in the UK, and I think also part of the Prime Minister's agenda, if I'm not wrong, because I haven't looked at it in great detail, but I believe they're going to be putting together areas which are going to become areas capable of afforestation. So, I mean, of course, if it comes to the UK, this would be our destination of choice in putting the trees. Until then, we of course have other options, and we are doing things like we are finding spots wherever we could do, which delivers maximum value to the planet. So we are excited to see parts of the UK come up with that effort and put our 2 cents into afforesting the system.
No, that's great. I mean, that's a great concept. I hope to get the karma card from you once I become your customer. Anuj, moving on, one of the critical things which United Kingdom and I believe all the big economies right now, including the United States and of course Asia, face is lack of jobs. The pandemic has created that. A lot of people are feeling that technology is going to drive them out of their jobs. So earlier it was technology as a scare. I mean, it kind of changed the nature of many traditional industries, and then combine that with pandemic, which is kind of making certain things, you possibly some people don't have jobs because there's no need in the current scenario. So there's there was a report saying that up to 1 million jobs would be lost or have been lost rather in the last few months, and the Chancellor Rishi Sunak he's thinking hard as to how to revive these jobs, and you have this kickstart scheme. So my question to you is that and this was like some time back, I mean, I started using Uber maybe 4 or 5 years. I mean, I was a late adopter, 4, maybe even later. So once I used to speak to the guys who were driving, and sometimes I used to take the black cab, and there was always this kind of disdain towards Uber. I remember I was standing outside this hotel, 51 Buckingham Gate, and actually had called an Uber. And suddenly I was kind of, I must be like, I saw a car coming and I kind of waved, and there was a black cab which stopped. And the black cab guy thought maybe I was hailing him for the service, but it was actually the Uber which was behind that. And he really got furious. I mean, he said that, look, they're taking away our jobs, and he started kind of almost, on the spot, he started kind of screaming at me. So I was like, I felt really bad, and I thought that, look, I mean, all things are not good. I mean, technology in the end is also taking away some of these livelihoods, some of the old ways of living. So I had that little guilt about using Uber excessively. In fact, I make it a point sometimes that when I'm in the heart of the city, I sometimes take black cabs because I just don't want them to be out of business. So that's my story, but the point I was trying to make here was, would a lot of people lose jobs like it happened with the PCOs and black cabs with the Uber revolution? Will what you're doing, will that not drive certain people who are like local handymen, local electrician, plumbers out of jobs?
Right. I think that's a very interesting and a great question, Manish. I think the diametric opposite is going to happen. I think we will create thousands of jobs, and I'll explain this to you why. It's a very logical reason. It's not a figment of my imagination. There is full logicality behind what I'm trying to say. If you think about the value proposition that we're going to create for the customer, making it really easy for the customer, making it really reliable for the customer, making it very predictable for the customer, very visible, affordable. So customers are going to rely more on accessing an affordable professional rather than doing it themselves. Okay?
Okay.
Because they're going to rely on an affordable professional, they're going to rely on companies like Greenvan. Number of transactions needed in the market are going to move up. The number of transactions in the market are going to move up. You will need more tradesmen. Today, the DIY market, the do-it-yourself market, is a very large market because either it's too expensive for the customer or it's too unreliable. There doesn't sit a middle player who's affordable and accessible and reliable. Okay, and Greenvan is trying to come in that spot which appeals to 90% of the market. The very large and the very expensive players only appeal to the very up market, which is 1%, and is not exciting for everybody else. The fragmented players are too unreliable for most customers for them to become vendors of choice. So when we come in, we shift the DIY market. We also create new types of transactions. Today, for example, if you look at our moving service. Today on second-hand marketplaces like eBay, like Gumtree, like many other Facebook marketplace, transaction velocity could be much higher. You're able to sell stuff that's sitting in your house that couldn't be sold today because of the cost of logistics. When we reduce the cost of logistics, you're able to sell that stuff, and that stuff is getting sold. It needs to be moved. There's a new transaction that's being created again. You have a house with 2 rooms. One room is used for storage. I can make you empty that room and send the stuff to storage because it's really cheap to send it to storage. We create new space. You can rent it out on Airbnb, have an additional revenue stream. So right from making it really easy for the customer, having a solid value proposition for the customer, to increasing the number of transactions, moving the DIY market, creating new type of transactions, we are hoping, and to the fact that we increase the income of the tradesman by 50% and the disposable income by 4 to 5x, we feel that it'll become a profession of choice. Young people coming out of colleges, young people coming out of, will want to opt in to be these kind of tradesmen because it offers them a much more lucrative opportunity. Instead of, let's say, £20,000, they'll make £30,000. That suddenly changes their options basket. And we feel that at higher income levels and much more opportunity or more transactions should create hundreds and thousands of new jobs in this market. So I think this is business for good, is in our clear understanding. So velocity in an industry, when it improves, it increases the number of jobs. And I'm sure, I haven't looked at this data myself, but I think if you look at Uber, with Uber coming into the London market and the UK market, the number of rides would have gone up and gone down. We don't know how the shift is going to be, but I think more drivers are going to be needed than less. More tradesmen are going to be needed than less. More transactions are going to be done than less. And that is really what we can hope for as a business.
Okay, no, absolutely great. I mean, I do feel that there's a need gap because it's not that easy. It might sound like, but it's not that easy to get a good plumber, electrician, or if your boiler breaks down, it's not that easy. And I've personally faced issues because you would not get them so easily unless you have an existing relationship. It's not that easy that you go on Google and you get it at a click of a button. And I think what you're doing is definitely bridging that need gap. And of course.
And I think to your point, Manish, I want to say this, like we would like to turn the customer from an order maker, from an order taker into an order maker. Today, the customer is an order taker. He's been told and dictated the terms by the tradesman. And I think because tradesmen also are having a hard time because of the lack of visibility. We are going to turn the customer into an order maker, and he's going to be given the flexibility on the day the customer wants the work to be done, the time the customer wants the work to be done, so they can actually go to their office. Some people want in the daytime, some people want late in the afternoon. Everybody's different. We would be able to cater to those bespoke requirements on the back of a sophisticated platform.
No, I think that's simply great. And the number of young people who can come out of vocational courses and get straight into the economy and start earning for themselves. So, I mean, this is our ready-made platform. They don't need to set up their own shop.
Even the Kickstarter application, we applied for a large number of applicants on that because we do see hope in creating some amount of employment through that as well. I mean, I think that's it's a fascinating situation where hopefully we can contribute into the chancellor's big dream of re-employing back a good part of the economy.
Brilliant. So, Anuj, I was waiting to ask this question, but I think maybe this is the right time. So, who are your role models? The kind of people you met and said, "Wow, I met this person," or I need to be, my trajectory needs to be like him.
I think, for me, the universal force is my biggest hero. And I think it's not, there is the one thing that, leaders and very successful people I have seen and have in common is their disproportionate amount of hard work to creating disproportionate amount of contribution to society and community. I think it's a mixture of people's different skills and their qualities and their capabilities, which has been really like impressive for me to notice and to imbibe to the extent that I could. I mean, if you talk about individuals, meeting Jeff Bezos has been fantastic. I think he's a great example of huge vision and even very penetrative micro execution. I think meeting the Duchess of Cambridge at a smallish public event where we could have a conversation with her and Prince, I realized that it's really fascinating to see how they take pleasure in making lives of other people comfortable, you know. And then, even Sir Richard Branson, who I met in a restaurant where I was, a few years ago, and we ended up having a great conversation. And I could see, I mean, he's an iconic hero of innovation and a very interesting consumer-first mindset. So it's different people with different qualities that I've admired, and I believe that there is something to be seen and taken and imbibed and absorbed and executed from those qualities in becoming a better version of ourselves.
So, what would be your advice to young entrepreneurs in the city? I mean, I meet loads of people, lots of young people, and the city has that buzz. And especially, I'll meet a lot of kids from BAME backgrounds, from Black, Asian, minority, ethnic backgrounds, and a lot of them want to do something, but they seem to be kind of, because they don't come from the right backgrounds. I mean, not everyone goes to Eton or, has had the privilege of studying in the right places or moving around the right circles. You have broken through the glass ceiling. What would be your advice to young people in the city who want to make it big, who want to become entrepreneurs?
So, Manish, I think that's a left-handed question because you're clearly telling me that I'm not young. But I think, to the extent that I can say, I think I would say it's better to aim high and fail than to aim low and succeed. I think checking yourself every day makes you 365 times better than you were a year ago. I think it's important to feedback yourself about yourself every day. And timing is key. I mean, look, timing is absolutely key because there is a famous line that I think about, which is intelligence is nothing but an entertaining layer of froth. So intelligence is nothing but an entertaining layer of froth that dances in and out of the celestial bodies that dominate us.
And I'll have to record that and play it in my head because I'm going to use that line next time.
And I think it's a great line because, everything is about timing because what is ahead of time is too early and what is later than its time is too late. So I feel that way, but I think if you work hard enough as an entrepreneur, even supply can create demand. Okay, and I think that's the determination I think people need to have. You can't. I think also you can't discount the value of partnerships and collaboration and association. It's really important because I think if you're not all out, you're all doubt. So you have to be all out, otherwise the world's not going to let you survive because there are too many doubters out there. So I think while we're busy building all kinds of things, it's important to have time for the most important things. Share, collaborate, let wisdom viral. Wisdom has to viral, it has to go through many people, and I think sharing only gets us more of what we need. So I would say if you meditate for 10 minutes a day, if you're busy, meditate 40 minutes a day if you're really busy. So I think for the young entrepreneurs, try and create that depth in your head because they say the most amount of distance you will travel is the distance between your ears.
Wow.
So, and I think so. My advice is be driven and give your purpose the value, and you will get the value from the purpose. So, so I think that's what I am driven by, Manish.
So yeah, so that's a great takeaway. So you said determination, aiming really high, and creating partnerships and collaborations. I mean, I can't imagine anyone who will fail, even if you manage to do these three things: aim high, be determined, and create partnerships. And I think the last line which you said absolutely is kind of sums it all. The greatest distance you'll travel is between your two ears. This part of your anatomy has everything, and if you go into there, you possibly can get anywhere. So Anuj, thank you so much for being here. We literally have maybe 1 minute left. So, the show is coming to an end. It was absolutely a pleasure to have you here. What I was going to say towards the closure is that we've seen more things change in last 1 year because of the pandemic than we've seen in a decade. Like, what could have happened the next 10 years has happened in this 1 year. I mean, this is a year of cataclysmic change. Lives have been turned around. So what do you think the world will look like in the next 10 years? I mean, I don't know if we all will be there. Hopefully we'll all be there. We'll survive through this and we'll ride the wave. But what do you think the world will look like in a decade or so?
I think with that logic of yours of mathematical extrapolation, I think in the next 1 decade, we're going to be 10 decades ahead.
Wow.
But I think the point is that, there are theories around capitalism is crashing and democracy is degrading and climate is breaking and, inequality is rising and protests are permeating. But I think my feeling is that I think what waits for us is a much better tomorrow, is a much safer tomorrow. I think the speed to success is going to multiply. I think it's going to change by orders of magnitude. Intelligence of today is going to become the common sense of tomorrow. I think luxuries of today are going to become basics of tomorrow. And I think strugglers of today are going to become heroes of tomorrow.
Oh, thank you, Anuj. It was an absolute pleasure to have you here. What you kind of, the vision you have would be really kind of, I would say, a 20-minute crash course in what one should be focusing on. All the best for your venture, or rather adventure, which is called Greenvan. And I hope that it becomes a huge success and we see that as the wallpaper in every household in London to begin with, in the United Kingdom, and hopefully across the world. And I hope it becomes the unicorn or the dream venture which you have envisioned. So Anuj, so we're going to come to the end of the show. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of this great city. Thank you for being part of the Manish Tiwari Show.
Thank you very much, Manish, for having me, and we hope to give our participants and ecosystem members a good journey year on year.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
So viewers, we had a great time with Anuj. Watch me again next Saturday, same time on the Manish Tiwari Show. Thank you.